Diego Comic-Con, and I see these Dragonball things all over the place in this particular building.
Yeah, Funimation and Toei pulled out all the stops for the Dragon, especially Toei on the world tour. They're doing with all the cool SH figure art stuff, and there's actually some of the action figures I want. Actually, the good folks at Bandai gave me a care package of a bunch of new action figures that I'm really thrilled about, including a Piccolo model I get to build.
Oh, really?
I have the master grade Goku models that I've never built because I don't read Japanese, but I was a model builder as a kid, so I'm looking at it going, could I do it without instructions? Maybe. And then there's a guy on YouTube who shows you how to build it, but now my Goku models are just sitting in they're the really high grade models. They're not the simple ones. They're very complicated. They're called the master grade models. So there's a huge Goku and a huge Super Saiyan Goku, and then I also have the Piccolo one, which I don't think is a master grade model, but it's a very high level model skill set, and I haven't built models in 30 years. So
you have quite a collection of toys yourself.
Well, they're by accident. I mean, there are things I like. I'm not a toy collector generally, and I tend to like special and obscure things. And my girlfriend recently is like, this place doesn't look like I live here, I'm moving all your shit. So I had all my Dragon Ball stuff in the living room, and then I show up one day and we have separate bathrooms. Trust me, that'll save a relationship. And so all my Goku stuff is in my bathroom now, and I didn't figure out what to do with it in my room. She's like, I want the living room to look like a living room. She loves Dragon Ball, but she's like, I want it to look like I live here. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. Show up one day, all the stuff's in the bathroom. I put on my toilet, not the toilet seat, but on the toilet top part, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a real special Dragon Ball thing I got from a guy I call the Grumpy Dragon Ball sales guy, because he's this guy who sells, he's at conventions, I don't know his name, but he's really grumpy, and I barely bought stuff from him because he's just so rude. But I feel like he has a heart of gold underneath, so I'm not really trying to pick on him, but he was really grumpy with me. And so I call him the Grumpy Dragon Ball guy, and he gets those special Dragon Ball toys that you can only get out of raffles, or they're in Japan, they don't have them in the US. They're special Dragon Ball toys that they're in the crane arms, or they're in like raffles or lotteries or something like that. They're special one-offs, or maybe 10-offs, so to speak. And I have one, it's, and you've probably seen this before, it's a giant monkey, and then Goku's doing his hands, it's like in a spirit bomb pose, and it's like this big, and it sits on my toilet. So when you're peeing, you got a Goku going, all right, I need your... So it's like, so I put it right there, which is funny because they worked on my shower recently, but when I was out, my apartment building worked on my shower was broken. And for some reason they moved that from I'm like, you need to use the toilet? It's perfectly fine. It wasn't on the it's on the top part. You can use the bathroom with Goku looking at you, it's fine. They moved it when they fixed my shower. And I'm like, you need to touch my toilet. So I haven't written them a review yet, but I'm going to tell them they moved my Dragon Ball statue and didn't put it back. No, I don't. I'm not going to write a review like that.
Wow.
It would be funny.
It'll be great, I guess, getting a review from you.
So I do like the SH figure art stuff a lot because they're so detailed and so articulate. And my favorite ones, which I wish SH figure arts would do, or Bandai, or one of those companies, and they did it once with a still action figure where Goku's clothes are actually cloth, then the sculpt is plastic versus the clothes being plastic. I would love a posable Goku with cloth clothing, like the SH figure art ones.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
So, in Hall H today, where you had a presentation, they just revealed the trailer, right?
And it was yesterday.
Oh, yesterday, yes.
Yesterday we were in Hall H, yes.
And so, what is Goku up this time around? Who are they facing?
The trailers made it clear that they're going to be facing Broly. So somebody didn't do their homework. No, I'm kidding. I'm messing with you. No. No, it's Broly. But it's a special situation with Broly because it's a reboot. So Toei and Akira Toriyama are basically saying, let's reboot this and imagine like he never existed, and then they said they're going to tweak his personality and character a little bit for the movie, which I'm curious about as an actor to see how that's going to work with Goku and Vegeta's personalities as well.
Wow, that's actually
surprising to you, isn't it?
It is,
right? Because you did not see his statement because you're not paying. No, I'm messing. I'm totally.
I was not in Hall H, obviously.
No, or seeing the 2.6 million views of our trailer, which explains all that. Anyway, so
I have a script here. Someone sends me all these questions.
Okay. What's next that you don't know about?
And this way, the interview goes sideways. But anyways.
No, it's okay. Trust me, you're going to like this when it's done.
Oh, yeah. But anyways, no, it's kind of funny because my boss is a big Dragon Ball. So
but he's not here today.
He is not here.
Somebody who really knows. No, I'm totally busting your chops, dude. I just think Because there was a girl here earlier who didn't know it, so I busted her chops. So I'm kind of in bust chops mode, and those actually end up being the best interviews, the ones where they don't know.
I'm gonna go to the restroom and find.
Watch the trailer.
Watch the trailer.
Hang on, I'll be out in a second. Oh, okay, so that nixes off 5 questions. No, okay, good.
So, anyways, well, you basically answered everything now.
No.
One of the things that that he wanted me to ask was, with all the what are some of the challenges with Dragon Ball Super Broly bring to the table, perhaps at the 19 films or the hundreds of episodes that you voiced before you didn't face?
Marketing? No, I don't know. Could you be more specific? What kind of challenges? I mean, you're talking about story challenges or production challenges? Or?
Probably everything.
Well, I don't think there's going to be any. I mean, I don't think there's any kind of. It's always a challenge to do a new movie, but we're all all of us are 20-year veterans, with Japan being 30 and 40-year veterans on this property. I forgot how many years it's been since the 80s when Akira Toriyama created Dragon Ball, and so they're veterans, by far, and we are veterans of 20. Everybody on the job is super experienced, so we're very confident that we're gonna. The only thing that would stop it from being successful is if the movie's not very good on its own merit, in terms of story and design, and I just can't. That's just not going to happen. So we already know this. I mean, the story's going to be good if Akira Toriyama is involved. Resurrection F and Battle of Gods are spectacular, and already by the trailer we know that the animation style. It is cool because artistically, I like the idea that it looks a lot like the manga come to life. That Akira Toriyama's hand is, not to slight the other movies, though, man, those movies are awesome, and they have different animators and different artists drawing those, and it's really great. But to see the style that it's almost, when I first saw that first real short trailer, it would remind me of like a hand-drawn, manga on parchment. It was just really very more layers of Japanese flavor than usual. You know what I mean? I'm talking about aesthetic, not just character design. It just was very
more modern.
Well, no, not modern. That's what I'm saying. It's more old school manga style, original Akira Toriyama designs brought to life in animation. So the other versions are Akira Toriyama designs, but they are also, as I've learned from Shueisha and Toei, that there are other animators and artists who will take those original designs and draw them for the company for the animation. So the fact that he's supervising this is going to make it a really real eye opener, I think, for fans, and I think we're going to break box office records worldwide.
Yeah. If any fans' indication downstairs at that Dragon Ball North American tour, I mean, there was tons of.
Oh, the line's been crazy. The line is just really crazy. So. I'm making bets with various people on how successful it'll be, and I'm going to see how much money I can make on those bets, because I'm confident it's going to do really well.
See? I was there. See, I did my research.
Ah, yes, for one question.
one question.
No, you're funny. I'm glad you can take the punches. All right, cool.
Now, if you've been doing this for so many years now, if you visited your younger self, would you give your younger self some advice when you first started business?
Yeah, be less of a dick. No, look, I feel very passionate about things. When I feel passionate, I tend to be very aggressive. And so I was right about a lot of the things I was upset about working on the show and frustrated about. And I was not a seasoned actor, and so I couldn't push back on some of the things I really wanted to know about the character. Because our knowledge of the show and production of the show, early days, we're talking late 90s, early 2000s, there was only so much data. Plus, we're translating it on a different language. We're trying to figure out what the aesthetic is for American audiences. I mean, really, it was the beginning of the golden age of anime, so to speak. What I call this era from basically early, Pokemon days, when Pokemon, I think, came out in the US before Dragon Ball a little bit, and was originally the gateway drug to all other anime. I believe Dragon Ball has become the gateway drug to all other anime. And that marks late 90s, to me, is the beginning of what I'm calling the golden era. And it's because of a number of reasons. It's because of the internet, but it's also largely because in order to produce a dub, there's a certain technical aspect of it that's very expensive, that is dubbing to tape. And once that went all digital, especially with Pro Tools and being able to mix it and be able to transfer materials very easily, that you see this explosion of, now when we recorded Dragon Ball, we had to get master tapes on a Betamax. The decks are $25,000 a piece. And then you got to chase that tape when you're recording, so it's a very slow process. Now we're doing QuickTime files, compressing them. We're sending QuickTime files back and forth. I can do pickup lines in my full-service recording studio in my house which wasn't possible. I did not have, Pro Tools didn't exist for the masses, which is a great, well, there are other recording apps, but having recording apps and recording gear available to the masses and available to guys like me who will use it properly, and learn how to use it, because that's really important. You got to treat your room, you got to learn how to use it properly. I can make pro level recordings in my house. We don't record Dragon Ball in my house, but I've done some pickup lines for Dragon Ball Super in my home studio. And when they're on a production crunch, they'll call me up and say, "Oh, we missed a line. Do this quick." And luckily, I'm an audiophile and I'm a musician, so not every voice actor has a pro full service studio, although many of them do, who know how to use it. And so they know that if I send them audio, it's going to sound really good. So because of this change in technology, more and more dubbing houses, we're able to make more dubbing, and we're able to record a lot faster, which is why the union rate needs to be addressed. No, I'm kidding. No, we do need to address that rate, because we get paid on a scale that's based on old dubbing rates, and that hasn't been updated for many, many years. And so we're making things faster and working faster, but still the same rate. So it's that's an issue, but we're working on that.
How is your, do you have a different approach when you approach like American animation versus a Japanese anime?
Well, it's interesting because when I first got the part, I'm a big fan of American animation, I was a big fan of Japanese animation. I had been exposed to what they call the anime aesthetic of voice acting. And this, we might go over a little bit on this, because this is actually a really important question for me. And as I was an ADR director in New York, I worked for Michael Sinter Nicholas at NYV Post, who do some of the very best dubs of all time. And I trained with him, and my aesthetic for how things should be localized have changed in a lot of years, because I no longer think necessarily the original cast recording of anything is necessarily a gold standard that you have to copy exactly the same, right? So my approach when I got Goku was I didn't know a lot about the dubbing world or prelay versus that. I knew a lot about performing, and I was a performance artist and sound and blah blah blah, and I'd done stand-up comedy and some acting. So when I got the part, I looked at it just like I'd been cast as the lead on The Simpsons, and meaning this was my role. And I'm going to play it as if I'm the only guy who's ever played this. Not that I would not pay homage to all the people who played it before, which I have done publicly and privately, although some people think otherwise. But if you've met me in the early 2000s, you know I was crediting the previous Canadian cast, and I still do. But I looked at it that way. When I started directing anime, my tendency was to match a lot of the, especially with women actresses, the high-pitched voices and the aesthetic for Japan, to really match that style. And I hear a lot of voice actors doing that nowadays, and there's a style for that, and I gotta say I wholeheartedly disagree with it now, because that's a Japanese aesthetic that works really well for Japanese people and Japanese culture. But if I were casting a show, say a high school teen show, I would cast it, I would use the Japanese names, and I would use the Japanese script, and I would keep it as close to the Japanese as possible, but I wouldn't cast a bunch of high squeaky women. I would cast women that sound like real teenage American girls, and guys that sound like real teenage American, not this highlight male voice they use in teens, teen boy voices.
Yeah.
If I were doing, that's a perfect example, because that's where it's really different. One thing I also notice is different from anime is, like, say there's a giant large monster voice in Japan, like say it's a big creature hulking, he's got huge muscles, maybe he's 100 feet tall. The voice that'll come out will be something like, I'm not speaking Japanese, so this is my bad. I don't speak Japanese. These are just, I don't want to offend Japanese people or anybody. Something like that.
Yeah.
But will do. To me, I look at that and go, that doesn't sound like it comes out of their mouth. Although to the Japanese audience, they're like, yeah, that's great. I'm thinking something like, I'm going to destroy you, like really hulking or really monster. And I've done that voice on several. So there's a couple of differences. Also, we're a lot pickier about mouth flap than Japan is. And I talked to a Japanese person about why this is, and it was an interesting answer. But I don't know if we have time to go into that. So as far as how I approach anime now, Goku, I established that before I knew all this, and I established that character in the way I do that many, many years ago. But now when I work on anime, I'm thinking, okay, how do I translate this and localize this so that it honors the Japanese, or whatever I'm localizing. I localized a Brazilian cartoon once. Whatever I'm localizing, that it honors the spirit of the cartoon, but the voices work. If someone sees a teenager or whatever, and that teen voice or little boy voice or monster voice, that it's more what an American audience would want to hear. And so there's some anime I hear that it actually makes me cringe now, and I'm not going to name shows, and I'm like, and you're also taking artistic choice away from the actor, and it's easy to copy and do that, but to really make it something special, yet still honor that is another artistic challenge, which I think can make a show greater than the sum of its parts. So There's your answer on that one. That's how I feel about that.
Well, that's a great answer, and I do have to admit you have a huge fan base.
I do, and I'm loath to use the word fan. I struggle with ego, and not my own. I mean, I struggle with my own ego all the time, but I'm not saying because it makes me egoic. It's just it feels weird. I mean, I'm a fan of things, but when I don't like to say my fans, like it just seems so narcissistic. I like to say people who enjoy my work or people who enjoy Dragon Ball or fans of Dragon Ball. I'm okay with, but I do appreciate all. I mean, even the ones that are up my butt about things, at least they're passionate enough to gripe at me, But by and large, 99.9% of my fans love what I do, and it makes me really. And I worry about it every day. I'm like, I remember when they finished the trailer, and I call, is it good? Do we sound good? Is everything okay? Do we sound good? I mean, this rolled 20 years, and I'm still, worried about whether it sounds good. It's not like I don't have confidence, but you never know how something's going to turn out until it's fully baked. And so, and I didn't know how the mix was going to turn out. I didn't know how the thing is. To me, it turned out absolutely flawlessly. So I'm absolutely thrilled with it. So anyway.
Well, hey, thank you. People appreciate it.
Oh yeah, they do. Thank you very much. Thanks for taking my jokes. I appreciate it. Thank you guys. Bye.